The grand ballroom shimmered with opulence, chandeliers casting a golden glow across the polished marble floors. The city's elite mingled effortlessly, their laughter and conversation mingling with the soft strains of a string quartet playing in the corner. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing every dazzling gown, polished shoe, and sparkling accessory. The gala was a playground for the rich and powerful, a carefully curated stage for influence, prestige, and social maneuvering. Tonight, every eye seemed to expect spectacle, and none would be disappointed. Damien entered with his usual air of controlled perfection, the very embodiment of charm and authority. His tailored tuxedo fit impeccably, and the quiet confidence in his stride made it clear that he was used to commanding attention wherever he went. Wealth and power radiated from him in every gesture, from the casual handshake to the practiced smile that hinted at both approachability and superiority. Yet beneath the surface of sophistication, there was a controlling streak, a careful manipulation of events and people that ensured he remained the center of any room he entered. Serena followed closely, her hand lightly resting on the swell of her pregnant belly. She was beautiful, poised, and intelligent, yet tonight anxiety fluttered in her chest like a trapped bird. Hope mingled with dread as she navigated the crowd, anticipating moments of warmth from Damien that never came. The gala, meant to be a celebration, had become a minefield of potential humiliation. The tension reached its peak when Damien, in front of several high-profile guests, made a dismissive comment, a thinly veiled jab that left Serena's eyes glistening with tears. Shock rippled through nearby guests, though some quickly averted their gaze, unsure whether to intervene or remain polite. Amid the glitter and grandeur, subtle hints of technology, the towering screens around the room, flashes of live media coverage, loomed like silent observers, foreshadowing that the secrets of this night were about to be revealed in ways no one could have predicted. Serena's chest tightened as she absorbed the sting of Damien's words, the carefully disguised dismissal cutting deeper than anyone in the room could see. Her eyes, glossy with unshed tears, flicked briefly toward the crowd, noticing the subtle reactions of those nearby. Some glanced at her with sympathy, others with polite curiosity, while a few more calculating eyes lingered longer, sensing the tension and weighing it against their own social agendas. The mixture of judgment, intrigue, and whispered speculation made her cheeks flush with a combination of embarrassment and suppressed anger. She forced herself to breathe evenly, smoothing the fabric of her gown and adjusting her posture, refusing to let Damien witness her vulnerability fully. Yet every movement, every carefully maintained smile, felt like a mask stretched thin over raw emotion. The pang of humiliation was sharpened by the awareness that this was no private disagreement. It was a public display, and the entire elite audience had witnessed it. Each flash of a camera, every hushed whisper, seemed to echo Damien's cruelty, amplifying the sting of rejection. Damien, standing a few steps away, radiated the confidence of someone entirely untroubled by the impact of his actions. His smug smile and casual demeanor contrasted sharply with Serena's quiet turmoil, underscoring the imbalance of power in the room. He seemed oblivious, or perhaps indifferent, to the emotional weight he had imposed, focused instead on maintaining his image and charm. The contrast between his arrogance and her delicate composure made Serena's struggle even more pronounced to anyone paying attention. Despite the ache in her heart, Serena's mind remained sharp. Beneath the surface of her pain, there was awareness, intelligence, and a growing resolve. She catalogued every glance, every whispered comment, and every subtle gesture, committing each detail to memory. Though humiliated, she understood that this public display was also an opportunity, a stage from which she could reclaim control and assert her dignity. In that moment of vulnerability, a spark of determination ignited within her, hinting at the calculated and graceful comeback that would soon leave Damien and the audience alike astonished. Olivia leaned lightly against a marble column, her perfectly manicured fingers toying with the stem of a champagne glass. From her vantage point, she had an unobstructed view of the drama unfolding before her, and a smug smile curved her lips. Serena's tear-streaked face, coupled with Damien's distant admiration and patronizing gestures, was a spectacle Olivia had long fantasized about witnessing. In her mind, this was the culmination of months of careful manipulation, strategic charm, and subtle provocations. The thrill of apparent victory coursed through her veins like electricity, and she allowed herself a moment to savor it fully. As guests moved through the room, Olivia engaged with them effortlessly, offering laughter, light touches on arms, and compliments delivered with perfect timing. Each interaction reinforced her perceived importance, and she basked in the admiration that followed her every step. Influential socialites smiled at her, photographers captured her radiant appearance, and she effortlessly became the center of attention, fully aware that this was exactly where she wanted to be. Her body language radiated confidence, a tilted chin, relaxed posture, and a casual sway that seemed to declare ownership of the room. In Olivia's mind, Serena's tears were the ultimate proof of triumph, the final confirmation that the wife had been diminished and that she, the mistress, had won. Every whispered speculation among the guests, every glance of curiosity, only fueled her overconfidence. She allowed herself to revel in the imagined ease of her victory, completely convinced that no one could challenge her dominance tonight. Yet subtle signs of imbalance began to prick at her bubble of certainty. The flashes of screens in the corners of the ballroom, faint murmurs of curiosity among more observant guests, and the subtle, unreadable expressions of certain high-profile attendees suggested that not everything was unfolding according to her plan. These hints were small, almost imperceptible, but they foreshadowed the twist that would soon append Olivia's smug perception. Her carefully constructed empire of control was vulnerable, and while she remained blissfully unaware in this moment, the seeds of her downfall had already been sown, ready to sprout in the most public and dramatic of ways. Months before the gala, the tension between Damien, Serena, and Olivia had quietly but steadily escalated, each encounter layering new complexities onto their intertwined lives. Serena had always been the steadfast anchor in Damien's world, intelligent, thoughtful, and compassionate. Her loyalty was unwavering, demonstrated not just in grand gestures but in the small, everyday choices she made to support him, from managing social obligations to understanding the pressures of his business empire. Her kindness extended to everyone around her, making her not only a beloved partner but a quietly respected figure among friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. Olivia, however, had entered this world with a different set of intentions. Charming, cunning, and unafraid to manipulate, she saw opportunity where others might see stability. She began weaving subtle schemes, half-truths whispered in the right ears, strategically timed appearances, and carefully curated moments that highlighted Damien's attention toward her. Slowly, she inserted herself into spaces she knew Serena valued, cultivating tension and doubt with precision. Every smile, every touch, every seemingly casual conversation was calculated to shift the balance of power, to make Serena question her place in Damien's life. When Serena discovered she was pregnant, Olivia immediately recognized the potential leverage. She began to exploit the situation in subtle ways, portraying herself as the unburdened alternative, insinuating that Serena's responsibilities would make her less vibrant, less present, less capable of commanding attention. Olivia's manipulations were never overt, they were delicate, almost imperceptible nudges designed to seed insecurity, not just in Damien, but in Serena's social world. The underlying message was clear: Serena's pregnancy made her vulnerable, and Olivia intended to use that perception to cement her own influence. Yet beneath all the manipulation and scheming, the stakes were profoundly emotional. This was not merely a battle for attention or social dominance, it was a contest over love, trust, and the future of a family. Every whispered conversation, every calculated interaction carried the potential to fracture bonds that had been built over years. Serena's intelligence and intuition had long allowed her to see hints of Olivia's schemes, but the full extent of the manipulation had remained obscured, leaving emotional scars and moments of doubt. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the resilience of Serena's heart, the depth of Damien's loyalty, and the power of truth to reveal what had long been hidden. As the gala reached its peak, the towering screens that flanked the ballroom suddenly flickered to life, drawing every eye in the room. The ambient chatter stilled, replaced by a low murmur of curiosity and anticipation. Guests instinctively turned their attention toward the glowing displays, their reflections mirrored in the polished floors and crystal chandeliers. What had once been background decor, silent witnesses to the glamour and spectacle of the evening, now became the center of a brewing revelation. The bright projections displayed images and documents, fragments of conversations, and glimpses of behind-the-scenes interactions, each carefully curated yet mysterious enough to leave the audience guessing. Whispers erupted across the room, flowing like a tide as attendees leaned closer to catch every detail. Phones were discreetly raised, cameras refocused, and guests exchanged hurried glances, trying to reconcile what they were seeing with the carefully constructed narratives of the night. Some faces displayed curiosity, others shock, and a few masks of polite interest barely concealed astonishment. Amid the unfolding spectacle, Olivia's confident smile faltered. She had anticipated many scenarios, but none had prepared her for the screens that now threatened to expose her carefully hidden maneuvers. The ease of her earlier triumph evaporated, replaced by a ripple of panic that only grew as the images continued to appear. Serena, standing slightly apart yet still in the limelight, felt a surge of cautious hope. Her earlier humiliation, though fresh, was now mingled with curiosity. Every flicker on the screens hinted at answers, at truths long obscured by manipulation and deception. Her heart raced as she realized that the opportunity to reclaim not only her dignity but also control of the evening was at hand. She studied each projection intently, deciphering clues and mentally connecting the dots, her intelligence and composure guiding her through the unfolding revelation. Damien, sensing the shift before fully understanding it, grew increasingly uneasy. His confident facade wavered as he glanced at the screens, then at Serena, and finally at Olivia, whose expression no longer radiated certainty. For the first time that evening, he felt the weight of unpredictability pressing down on him, a gnawing anxiety that hinted at consequences he had not foreseen. The gala, meant to showcase power and elegance, was rapidly transforming into a theater of exposure, where secrets threatened to surface under the unforgiving glare of technology and the watchful eyes of the elite. The screens pulsed brighter, demanding attention, and the room's chatter quieted to an anticipatory hush. One by one, images and messages appeared in a sequence so precise it left no room for doubt. Conversations between Olivia and Damien, private emails, and carefully orchestrated manipulations flashed across the monitors for every guest to see. The evidence was irrefutable. Olivia's subtle schemes, the half-truths designed to sow tension between Damien and Serena, and even Damien's own lapses of judgment were laid bare in vivid clarity. Each revelation was like a carefully aimed arrow, piercing through the illusion of control that had so long protected the mistress and challenged Serena's dignity. Whispers escalated into audible gasps, and cameras clicked incessantly, capturing the unfolding drama from every angle. Guests leaned closer to screens, exchanging astonished glances, while some discreetly whispered confirmations to neighbors, attempting to process the shocking exposures. The social balance, once firmly in Olivia's favor, shifted abruptly. Admiration, once directed at her effortless charm, now faltered under the undeniable proof of her deceit. Damien's polished composure crumbled as the gravity of the situation hit him, his eyes darting between Serena and Olivia as if searching for a lifeline that no longer existed. In contrast, Serena's poise remained unshaken. She stood gracefully, her posture upright, hands gently resting on her pregnant belly, eyes steady as they swept the room. Her expression betrayed nothing of the satisfaction that bubbled quietly beneath the surface. Instead, she radiated calm authority, a quiet command of attention that amplified the drama without aggression. Every subtle tilt of her chin, every measured glance she cast toward Olivia and Damien, reinforced her regained power. Olivia's earlier confidence dissolved entirely. Her mouth opened and closed, attempting explanations that sounded hollow even to her own ears. Her body stiffened, and the arrogance that had been her armor turned brittle under the scrutiny of the room. Damien, torn between guilt, astonishment, and the remnants of pride, could only watch as Serena reclaimed the moral and social high ground with effortless precision. The crowd's attention was now fully on Serena. Cameras and flashes followed her movements, and murmurs of admiration and astonishment threaded through conversations. Every gesture, every step, and every composed breath she took reinforced a clear, undeniable message. She had regained control, her dignity restored, and her intelligence unchallenged. The evening, intended to display glamour and hierarchy, had transformed into a stage for Serena's reclamation of authority, a public triumph over deception, and the undeniable revelation of truth. Damien stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him in an almost physical way. The grandeur of the gala faded into the background as guilt coiled in his chest, tight and suffocating. Every glance from the guests, every camera flash, and every whispered remark seemed to magnify his shame. He replayed the night in his mind, dissecting every decision, every careless comment, every subtle indulgence of his ego that had contributed to Serena's public humiliation. The realization that he had underestimated his wife, and that his actions had opened the door for Olivia's manipulations, left a bitter taste he could not ignore. His mind was a turbulent storm of attraction and regret. Damien still felt the magnetic pull toward Serena, but it was tempered by the acute awareness of his failings. He remembered her composure as the screens revealed the truth, her calm, measured reactions, and the quiet confidence that demanded respect without a single raised voice. The contrast between her intelligence and grace and his own faltering pride stung more deeply than any public scrutiny ever could. Societal pressures weighed heavily as well. He was the millionaire, expected to maintain control, to project strength, yet in front of the elite crowd, he had been unmasked, vulnerable, and reactive rather than commanding. Small moments struck him sharply, the way Serena had tilted her chin, her hand resting gently on her belly yet projecting authority, the subtle nod she gave a guest acknowledging their support while simultaneously signaling that she had regained control, the fleeting flash of surprise in Olivia's eyes as she realized the tide had turned. Each micro-moment became a mirror reflecting Damien's failures, highlighting the brilliance and strategic foresight Serena had always possessed but he had overlooked. As he processed the unfolding reality, Damien felt a shift within himself. Shame was beginning to give way to awe, and guilt was softened by admiration for the woman he had long taken for granted. The depth of her strength, her ability to navigate deception and public scrutiny, became painfully clear. He realized that reconciliation would require humility, genuine acknowledgement of his errors, and a renewed commitment to trust and partnership. Yet in that moment of vulnerability, a seed of hope was planted, a possibility that, through recognition, remorse, and respect, he could begin to make amends and restore the bond they had once shared. Olivia's confident composure had disintegrated entirely. Her carefully rehearsed expressions of charm and authority no longer carried weight, and every movement now seemed awkward under the relentless scrutiny of the gala's elite. She attempted to salvage her reputation with hurried smiles and rehearsed justifications, offering explanations that sounded hollow even to her own ears. Each attempt to regain control only highlighted the futility of her efforts, leaving her increasingly flustered and desperate. Around her, subtle but unmistakable signs of social rejection unfolded. Invitations that had once been extended with ease now remained conspicuously absent. Whispered conversations darted in her direction and quickly moved away, leaving her isolated amidst the crowd. Guests avoided prolonged eye contact, their expressions a mixture of polite pity and quiet judgment. Every glance she cast toward the screens, the crowd, or even Damien and Serena reminded her that the illusion of power she had relied upon for so long was now irrevocably shattered. Serena's grace and authority served as a sharp contrast. While Olivia floundered, Serena moved with calm confidence, her posture upright and dignified, her presence commanding respect without a word. Every gesture, from the subtle acknowledgement of supportive guests to the serene composure she maintained as whispers filled the room, reinforced the social and moral victory she had claimed. Olivia's failures were magnified against this backdrop, each sign of poise Serena displayed underscoring the mistress's overreach and arrogance. The crowd's reaction shifted dramatically. Allies and onlookers who had once been intrigued by Olivia's charm now reassessed their loyalties. Murmurs of admiration for Serena spread quickly, accompanied by subtle nods and glances that acknowledged her intelligence, patience, and strategic brilliance. Olivia's attempts at social dominance were met with polite avoidance or outright disregard, and it became clear that her position had crumbled almost overnight. Finally, amidst the growing isolation and scrutiny, Olivia confronted a bitter truth. Her arrogance, overconfidence, and manipulative tendencies had led to her own downfall. For the first time, she recognized the gravity of her misjudgment. She had underestimated Serena, overestimated her own influence, and failed to anticipate the consequences of public exposure. In the silent, judgmental gaze of the gala's attendees, Olivia's humiliation became complete, leaving her to grapple with both the social and personal cost of her actions. With the revelation complete and Olivia's downfall apparent, Serena moved through the gala with deliberate grace, reclaiming control of the evening with an air of quiet authority. Each step she took was measured, yet imbued with confidence, signaling to everyone present that she was no longer a passive participant but the woman in command. The subtle elegance of her movements drew attention without demanding it, a stark contrast to the desperate flailing Olivia had displayed just moments before. Serena's poise became magnetic, naturally drawing guests and onlookers toward her orbit. As she approached groups of influential attendees, she engaged with ease and intelligence, listening attentively while offering thoughtful insights and sincere compliments. Her charm was effortless, yet layered with the unmistakable undertone of moral authority. People instinctively recognized her integrity and composure. When the media approached, she answered questions with calm clarity, turning inquiries into opportunities to highlight truth, fairness, and her own resilience without ever descending into arrogance or aggression. Every interaction subtly reinforced her image as both a capable partner to Damien and a respected figure in high society. Serena's strategic mastery extended beyond charm. She carefully navigated the social dynamics of the room. Allies who had wavered in their loyalties now openly aligned with her, drawn by her measured authority and the undeniable evidence of her intelligence. Her words, gestures, and expressions were carefully calibrated to project competence, elegance, and empathy, ensuring that each onlooker recognized her as the moral and social victor. Even casual observers, those who might have remained neutral, found themselves admiring the balance she struck between strength and humility. The shift in perception was palpable. Murmurs of admiration threaded through the room, whispers once directed at Olivia now lauding Serena's brilliance and composure. Cameras captured her serene expressions, poised gestures, and confident exchanges, amplifying her influence through images that would ripple across social media and society pages. In reclaiming control of the gala, Serena transformed the evening from a scene of personal humiliation into a demonstration of intelligence, strategy, and moral authority, leaving no doubt about who truly held power. By the night's end, it was clear. Serena had not only restored her dignity but elevated her social standing. She had demonstrated that true influence stemmed not from manipulation or audacity, but from patience, intelligence, and the quiet, unwavering strength to act with grace when the world was watching. After the gala, the grandeur of the evening faded behind closed doors, leaving Serena and Damien alone in the quiet sanctuary of their home. The soft glow of lamps cast gentle shadows across the room, illuminating the fatigue and lingering tension etched on their faces. Damien sank into a chair, his usual poise replaced by an uncharacteristic vulnerability. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding Serena's eyes at first, before finally meeting her gaze with a mixture of remorse and desperation. I didn't realize how much I hurt you tonight," he began, voice low and unsteady. "I was blinded by pride, by appearances, and I let my own insecurities cloud my judgment. I've taken your strength and patience for granted, Serena, and seeing you humiliated like that, it was my fault." His confession hung in the air, raw and sincere, carrying the weight of both regret and recognition of his failures. Serena listened carefully, her expression composed but firm. Her heart ached at the memory of the tears she had fought to hide at the gala, yet she refused to allow the moment to descend into anger or blame. Instead, she asserted her boundaries with clarity. "Damien, I need honesty, respect, and partnership, not just tonight, but always," she said, her voice steady yet imbued with the emotion she had kept contained. "I will not accept being dismissed or belittled. Our family, our trust, and our future demand more than fleeting charm or careless decisions." The conversation was layered with tension, love, and hope, each word weaving a delicate balance between accountability and possibility. Damien's posture softened, guilt gradually giving way to understanding. He realized that the admiration he had once demanded needed to be reciprocated by respect, that loyalty was a two-way street, and that the strength Serena had displayed throughout the gala was both awe-inspiring and a lesson he could not ignore. As they spoke, the air between them shifted. The night's earlier drama no longer loomed as a barrier, but as a bridge toward a renewed bond. Serena's intelligence, patience, and moral authority guided the conversation, while Damien's sincerity and emerging humility paved the way for reconciliation. By the time their discussion ended, there was a tangible sense of hope, a quiet promise that the mistakes of the past would not define the future. In the shared silence that followed, they felt the first stirrings of a restored and stronger connection, united in love, mutual respect, and the anticipation of the life growing within Serena. In the days that followed the gala, the ripple effects of that unforgettable night spread swiftly across social circles and into the headlines of glossy magazines and gossip columns. Guests who had once whispered doubts about Serena now spoke of her with admiration, recounting her composure and quiet strength in the face of public humiliation and betrayal. She had not raised her voice, nor had she sought revenge in bitterness. Instead, she had let truth and dignity speak louder than any accusation. The social elite, who valued poise as much as power, came to see her as a figure of both moral and social authority. Damien, once celebrated only for his wealth and influence, found his own image transformed as well. For the first time, he was no longer admired solely for his financial empire or commanding presence, but for his visible embrace of humility. His public missteps had stripped away the facade of untouchability, and yet, in his acceptance of fault and devotion to rebuilding trust with Serena, he revealed a side of himself that resonated with genuine humanity. His choice to stand beside his wife, acknowledging her strength and their shared future, began to restore the respect he had nearly lost. Meanwhile, Olivia's downfall became a cautionary tale whispered at private dinners and exclusive gatherings. Where once she had basked in the glow of Damien's attention and flaunted her position, she now found herself shunned by the very circles she had fought so desperately to enter. Invitations dwindled, conversations stopped when she entered a room, and her name became synonymous with arrogance and misplaced ambition. In her fall, others saw a reminder of the fragility of power built on deceit and vanity. Ultimately, the gala was remembered not for its opulence or spectacle, but for the lessons it revealed. Loyalty, respect, and integrity proved stronger than wealth or beauty, and Serena's victory became a story retold as an example of patience, wisdom, and unshakable dignity. In the months that followed the gala, Serena's name became a symbol of grace under pressure. What many had first perceived as fragility was now understood as unshakable strength. Society came to respect her not only as the wife of a powerful man, but as a woman who commanded her own influence. At charity events, business gatherings, and social functions, people sought her opinion and admired her calm authority. Reporters often described her as the embodiment of elegance and quiet power, a woman who had transformed humiliation into triumph without bitterness or theatrics. Her presence became a reminder that dignity could achieve what pride never could. For Damien, the aftermath was humbling yet transformative. The same man who once believed his wealth and charm placed him above accountability now found himself learning the true meaning of loyalty. His late-night conversations with Serena grew tender and raw, as he shared insecurities and regrets he had long concealed. Slowly, brick by brick, he began rebuilding her trust, not through grand gestures, but through consistency and respect. Every moment spent with her, and with their unborn child growing closer to entering the world, grounded him in a new sense of purpose. His gaze no longer sought the approval of society, but rested firmly on the family he had almost lost. The impact of that fateful night extended far beyond their marriage. Guests who had witnessed the spectacle carried its lessons into their own lives. Some spoke of it as a warning against arrogance and betrayal, while others reflected on the strength of forgiveness and the quiet power of truth. Olivia's downfall remained fresh in their minds, serving as a cautionary tale for those who might have been tempted to follow her path of selfish ambition. As Serena sat one evening on the balcony of their home, her hands resting gently over the life within her, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had faced betrayal, humiliation, and loss, yet she had risen above it with patience and intelligence. The night of the gala had not broken her. It had revealed her true strength. With Damien beside her, committed to change, and a future filled with hope, she closed that chapter of pain and opened one of renewed dignity, love, and serenity.